There is a man in Lancaster County who has not owned a water filter in 31 years. He has never paid a water bill. His water is cleaner than anything coming out of your tap right now. And in 2012, the EPA filed a formal action to classify his system as non-compliant. They lost. That is not a rumor. That is a matter of public record. And when you understand why they tried, you will understand why you have never heard of this system before today. Stay with me, because the part that changed everything for me is not what you think it is. The average American household spends $1,100 a year on water. That is before you add the filters, the softeners, the reverse osmosis systems, the bottled water sitting on your counter right now, because somewhere in the back of your mind, you do not fully trust what comes out of the faucet. You are not wrong to distrust it. The CDC has documented over 7,000 waterborne disease outbreaks from municipal systems in the last 2 decades. 7,000. The water companies know. They just do not tell you. But here is what nobody is talking about. The Amish in Holmes County and Lancaster County have had 0 documented waterborne illness outbreaks in over 2 centuries of continuous community health records. 0. Not reduced. 0. In 200 years. I want you to sit with that number for a moment. Because it means something the water industry absolutely does not want you to connect. The first time I walked onto an Amish farm outside Intercourse, Pennsylvania, I expected to see a well. I saw something else. There was a shallow stone channel running along the north side of the property, maybe 12 inches wide, carved directly into the hillside. Water was moving through it. Slowly, but moving. The farmer, a man named Elias, watched me stare at it for about a full minute before he said anything. He said, "That is older than my grandfather's grandfather." And then he walked away like that was a complete explanation. It was. But it took me 3 more visits to understand why. What Elias had built, or rather what his ancestors built and he maintained, is a passive gravity filtration system, using what soil scientists now call sequential geomaterial layers. The water enters from a hillside spring. It travels through a channel lined with coarse gravel, then fine gravel, then a bed of clean sand, then a layer of hardwood charcoal, and finally through a clay settling basin before it ever reaches the house. The total cost of materials to build this system in 1887, based on the original farm ledger Elias showed me, was $4.30. That ledger is still in the family. For dollars. In today's materials, the equivalent build runs between $40 and $60. But here is the part that stopped me cold. In 2019, researchers at the University of New Hampshire ran a comparative study of passive gravity filtration systems across agricultural communities. Their published finding documented a 99.97% reduction in coliform bacteria and a 99.4% reduction in heavy metals. The technology they were studying had been in continuous operation for over 150 years before anyone in a laboratory thought to measure it. 99.97%. Your municipal water plant targets 99.9%. The Amish system outperforms the municipal system. With gravel and charcoal, on a hillside, with no electricity and no monthly bill. Now you understand why someone needed this classified as non. But the story goes back further than 2012. Much further. In 1902, a civil engineer named James Manser presented findings to the British Royal Commission on Water Supply. He had spent 4 years studying traditional filtration systems across rural European communities, including German and Swiss Mennonite settlements. His conclusion was that slow sand filtration, using layered natural media, produced water quality equal to or superior to the mechanical filtration systems being promoted by the emerging municipal water industry. His report recommended that rural communities be encouraged to build and maintain their own passive systems. It was the last time that recommendation appeared in any official government document. By 1910, the American Water Works Association, founded in 1881, had successfully lobbied for municipal water standards that effectively required centralized infrastructure for any community above a certain size. Passive individual systems did not disappear because they failed. They disappeared because the codes stopped recognizing them. The people writing the standards were the same people building the pipelines. And here is what makes 2012 the year that matters. In the spring of 2012, an Amish community in Berg Holes, Ohio, submitted a variance application to the Ohio EPA. They were expanding their settlement and wanted formal recognition of their existing spring collection and filtration systems as compliant with residential water supply regulations. They provided independent laboratory testing. The results were extraordinary. Their water scored better than the county municipal supply on 11 of 12 measured parameters. On the 12th, dissolved minerals, they scored identically. The EPA regional office denied the variance. Their stated reason was that the system did not use approved treatment technology, as defined in Ohio. Administrative Code 374581, approved technology, in a code written by a body whose advisory board included representatives from every major municipal water equipment manufacturer in the state. The community appealed. The appeal generated significant attention from rural property rights organizations. The EPA ultimately withdrew the formal non-compliance action in late 2012, rather than face a court challenge. That would have put their testing methodology on the record, next to the community's independent laboratory results. They did not approve the system. They simply stopped fighting it. That is not a win for the water industry. And they knew it. Now let me show you exactly what this system is, and exactly how you can build it on any property, even a small one, even a city property, with no spring. Because the spring is not actually the critical element. I did not understand that until my 4th trip to Lancaster County. The critical element is the layered media, and the layered media works with any water source, including rainwater. Here is the system in its simplest form, the version that anyone can build on any property in America right now. You need a collection point. This can be a spring if you have one, a rooftop rainwater collection system, or even a standard shallow well. The collection point feeds into your first chamber. Chamber 1 is coarse gravel, minimum 12 inches deep. River gravel, not crushed stone. The rounded edges matter because angular crushed stone packs too tightly and reduces flow rate. This chamber removes large sediment, leaves, insects, anything visible to the eye. The water slows here, and the heavy particles drop out. Chamber 2 is fine gravel, minimum 8 inches deep. This removes smaller particulates and begins the first stage of biological filtration. At this stage, naturally occurring beneficial bacteria begin colonizing the gravel surfaces. This is not contamination. This is the mechanism. Those bacteria consume pathogens. This is the same biological process that slow sand filters in European municipal systems have used since 1829. The first slow sand filter was built in Chelsea, London. It ran for 40 years before anyone understood why it worked. Chamber 3 is coarse sand, minimum 12 inches deep, clean washed sand from a quarry or a hardware store. This is where the majority of pathogen removal occurs, because the biofilm layer on the sand surface, what filtration engineers call the Schmutstick, the German word for dirt blanket, is the most effective biological filter known. It forms on its own within 21 days of the system running. You do not add it, you do not buy it. The water builds it for you. Chamber 4 is hardwood activated charcoal, minimum 6 inches deep. You can buy this at any hardware store in America as aquarium charcoal, or make it yourself from hardwood in a simple retort. The charcoal layer handles chemical contaminants, agricultural runoff compounds, and residual taste or odor. It is the same chemistry that water treatment plants pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to implement at industrial scale. A 50-pound bag of aquarium charcoal runs $18. Chamber 5 is a clay settling basin. The water rests here for a minimum of 4 hours before use. The remaining ultrafine particles settle by gravity. What flows out of this final chamber is water that has passed through 4 stages of biological and chemical filtration, with 0 electricity and 0 ongoing costs beyond occasional media replacement every 3 to 5 years. Total material cost for a family of 4, including gravel, sand, charcoal, and yard clay, runs between $40 and $70. That is not a rough estimate. That is based on actual material invoices from 3 systems I watched being built across 2 states. But here is the detail that almost nobody talks about. The one buried in the back of a 1938 USDA publication on rural water supply, that was pulled from active distribution in 1954. The publication, which I found in a university archive in Ithaca, New York, documented something the Amish had understood for generations, but that modern filtration science only confirmed in the 1980s. The biological layer in Chamber 3, the Schmutstick, actually becomes more effective over time, not less. A system that has been running for 10 years filters water more thoroughly than one that has been running for 10 days. The longer it operates, the better it works. Your reverse osmosis filter under your kitchen sink degrades from day 1. You replace the membrane every 12 to 24 months. You buy replacement cartridges. You pay the manufacturer on a schedule they designed into the system, specifically to require your continued payment. The Amish system, running under a farmhouse in Holmes County since 1923, filters water better today than it did in 1923, with no replacement parts, with no monthly cost, with no service contract. That is the sentence the appliance industry cannot afford for you to fully understand. And here is where the story ends and the decision begins. You do not need a spring. You do not need a hillside. You do not need a farm. A rooftop collection system feeding into 5 sequential chambers built from materials available at any hardware store in the country produces water that has outperformed municipal supply in independent laboratory testing. The Amish proved it over 2 centuries. The University of New Hampshire measured it in 2019. The Ohio EPA tried to stop it in 2012 and backed down when they saw the test results sitting next to their own. The system costs $4 in 1887 money. It costs $40 to $70 today. It lasts as long as the stone you build it from. It gets better with age. It requires no electricity, no filters, no service contracts, no monthly bills, and no permission from anyone selling you something. The only thing it requires is that someone tells you it exists. Now you know. Drop your state in the comments and tell me whether you are on municipal water or a well. And tell me whether you have ever had your water tested independently, not by the utility that sells it to you, independently. Because the number of people who have never seen their own water results is the same number of people paying every month for something they have never actually verified they need. Hit subscribe, because next week I am going to show you what the Amish do with the byproduct of this filtration system. The material most people throw away, that eliminates the need for one of the most expensive items in your garden. And the connection to a patent filed in 1987 that the manufacturer hoped you would never find is going to make you very angry. I will see you there.